Hey there, I am Silouan Green. I am a speaker and teacher on leadership, resiliency, peer support, and suicide prevention. And then I also help develop technology that helps connect people because I have found the biggest antidote for those bad things is connection. And so years ago, I did advertising and marketing, and recently I've got involved with technology again, and primarily in developing applications that help people connect in order to help with those things such as mental health and better leadership and suicide prevention. What I've been doing at Vision Studio, I just told a story about a group of young heroin addicts that I was working with. And I was using that as an example of how we help each other. And it starts by listening to each other, being a little vulnerable, that person you're trying to help, be a little vulnerable about yourself, where you've been, and then being intentional about where you want to go. Don't just leave it as a conversation, like how we're going to help each other. Vision Studio to me is in the process of helping me sort of create a creative vision for myself. I think especially with their creator program, where you can purchase at a reduced rate monthly recordings, it gives you what to me is an amazing opportunity where you can kind of figure out what's my creative vision going to be. One of the reasons I found I got a creative background, published a magazine, was a musician. Sometimes people stop because they run out of money figuring out what they want to talk about or what they want to do. I remember when I was a musician, I can't tell you the number of friends that would go into a studio paying a lot of money to figure out what you do in a studio. And about the time they figured out what to do in a studio, they spent all their money. And so the music sucked. Video is even worse because it's way more time intensive because you got video. It's a lot easier to redo a soundtrack than when it's just audio than video. And I think, what Vision Studios does, if you're not quite sure where you want to be creatively, they've got this creator package where you can come in, they set up the cameras, you can talk. You're going to have to edit it yourself, which is okay. But you can use it as an opportunity to really learn, okay, what do I want to talk about? How long do I want to talk? What's the medium it's going to be on? What kind of cameras do I want to use? What setup do I want? What lighting do I want? And then once you got all that figured out, then when it comes time to maybe boost it to another level, do a little bit more fancy editing, whatever it may be, you are spending that money making a much more informed decision about your own creative ability and the message that you want to get. So that is what I have been doing recently with Vision Studios, is just coming in here pretty regularly and just kind of figuring out what's my message going to be, what do I want to say, how do I want it to look, those sorts of things. Welcoming. Vision Studio is welcoming. No, but it is. I think you guys do a good job of that. Like, sometimes what I've noticed, creative people can kind of get snobby because it is a tough biz. And one of the ways you get value is I'm creative. Look at what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And you guys aren't that way. At least to me, you guys are very welcoming, very like, hey, this is our home and we're going to make you feel good. And I think that's important. I think people get I think the reason more people don't do this is they're intimidated. And I think it's two things. It's intimidating and it's also unknown. And when it costs money and it's not, and when it's not cheap, that's a scary place for people to be. So I think that's why I love the idea of like, you have like a ramp, like you have a way someone can experience this without having to drop a lot of money. But if they have a good experience, it's going to lead to the other. You know what I mean? Like you got someone doing a podcast and they're a business. Eventually they're going to go, let's do a commercial. Let's do it right. So yeah, I think that's to me what's good about it. And then I also like the fact that this is what this says when you see all these setups is we will find a way for you to feel comfortable. That's why I brought up the music example. Like you'd meet some music people sometime, like this is the way you do it. And they were very like hardcore and they were very like militant, like this is how I do it. And so if you were intimidated, you just stayed intimidated. Because you didn't realize there's a million ways to do it, So, you could be like, music I listen to, like Rick Rubin would be like on a table with his legs crossed and his eyes closed, and he'd want you to get like 2 takes and you're done. And then you'd have a guy like Mutt Lange who did AC/DC and Def Leppard, and it was like, no, we're going to do 100 takes until it's perfect. They both got good songs. They're just 2 different ways to do it. And I think that intimidates people though, because what if the way you want it? So anyway, that's what I think. But I like what Ahmad's done by involving all of you, because a lot of times what'll happen, a guy like him will try to do everything. Like, I got to be there, or I got to do that, and then the business never grows. But you're going to grow as a business if all of you feel like you're contributing, and you know what I mean, and you find which aspect of it you're good at, and then it grows together. That's how you're going to grow it. Because I'm telling you, like social media and video is not going to go away. And because of lighting, because of cameras, I don't care how good AI gets, you're still going to need this. And there's going to be more and more people that need a studio. And I think that's why you're smart even doing something like this. You're like, hey, you can try to do it on your own with AI and you might screw it up. But if that's how you want to do it, you can do it. And then the people that want it done right, you can pay us to do it. But then the good thing is, as you get busier, AI is just going to make it easier for you to do. You guys do a good job of marketing too.